Hey guys, Dov here, back today with another unit highlight, and there goes Legolas, the Waystalker, a decent hero for the Wood Elves, and one, especially if you're new to playing Wood Elves, that you might overlook. I'm not necessarily saying that he's underrated here, and that's probably, in fact, not the title, but definitely a core choice that you always want to think about when playing the Wood Elves, and one main reason being, they've demonstrated very well here, you don't have any artillery as the Wood Elves. These guys, though, with 190 range, plus arrows of Kurnos, can almost act as artillery. This is Kilrinu as the Dark Elves versus Hadriz Wood Elves here. Hadriz rocking Durthu. This is from a recent stream I did. It was actually the Angry Trees King of the Hill, so definitely go watch that. Hadriz had a bunch of great games with Durthu, spoiler alert, and so if you want to see some more Durthu action, definitely go check that out. We've got 3 Way Watchers here, including the No Regiment of Renown. Yes, Hawkeyes of Jakira, who have Discourage and that Smoke Bomb. We've got a bunch of Eternal Guards here. An honorable Pendulum going off, shredding some Fear Spears. We've got Scourge Runner Chariots, a couple of Reaper Bolt Throwers, 2 Cold One Knights, Morathi leading the way, and a bunch of Harpies, Dark Riders, so forth. And then, yeah, Waystalker, Branch Wraith, Durthu, Wild Riders, and the Spear Box. One of those spears, I think there were the ROR spears here. Nope, no ROR spears. The Waystalker leading his Way Watchers, doing all the Way stuff. Right now, getting pretty well shredded by the scatter shot of the Bolt Throwers there, doing some really nice damage. Unfortunately, the Harpies get wrecked pretty quick. They're going to flee immediately away. But on the low ground here, the Cold One Knights do get a pretty decent engagement, kind of trading 1 for 1, more or less, against these Wild Riders, which is barely cost-effective, but it is cost-effective. And the Scourge Runner Chariots have been mostly subject to the Way Watchers so far, taking quite a bit of HP damage, but none of their models have gone down very critically. Yeah, the Harpies just get absolutely wrecked, actually shatter, which is a decent amount of value. One of the units, right off the bat, completely gone. The other ones are going to throw themselves back down onto the Way Watchers, but all this time, this Waystalker's kind of been blinking, and it doesn't look like he's used Arrows of Kurnos on the Bolt Thrower. Instead, just using his shot, firing into whatever here. Oop, little heat-seeking shot there, misses, but keep in mind, he does deal magic damage with his bow. Also not a complete pushover in terms of melee stats. 55 attack, 45 defense. Not amazing for a hero, but it's serviceable. Not a whole lot of armor, and he does have very little HP, but Stalk and Snipe means you can often keep him hidden. That being said, as it is right now, he's racked up almost 30 kills, just kind of planking away with his bow at various targets. Yeah, Morathi coming down to fight Durthu here in a very pitched engagement in the woods. Branch Wraith also having some issues against the Dark Elf Cav, but Eternal Guard are supporting here, very important. And Eternal Guard, Way Watchers also firing in, doing quite a bit of damage. Soul Sealer would go off and hit Durthu. The Bolt Throwers switch to anti-large mode, put a few shots on Durthu. They're also going to put a few shots on those Wild Riders. The Dark Riders here kind of sweep up and into the back line. They get a nice rear charge on these Eternal Guards. Some of them manage to get into this back line, but were quickly routed off. Although, meanwhile, this the Waystalker, another important thing about the Waystalker, and with all heroes, is he does encourage, right? So what that means is the cheaper heroes, and whether they be ranged or melee, you know, like your Empire Captain, your even like, you know, Goblin, Big Boss, whatever. Pick your poison with your cheap ranged or melee hero. Just standing around and providing that little bit of encourage helps these Eternal Guard hang around in this fight that little bit longer and just help hold the line. So besides the kills that he's gotten, which is quite a few, yeah, the leadership support is critical, and especially in a situation like this where Durthu is likely to go down here to the Bolt Throwers. Unfortunately, these trees aren't giving him too much cover. His haggard kinfolk here out in the plain of spiders don't get enough water to really effectively block the shots. I don't really have leaves or anything like that, so yeah, the Bolt Thrower shots mostly getting through, hitting Durthu. Soul Stealer also likely enough to take him out. Got about 200 HP left, down to 90, and that last tick of Soul Stealer finishes him off there. So Morathi is mostly free and clear, you might think, but the Way Watchers still have ammo. The Waystalker still got some ammo as well. And there's the Arrow of Kurnos. Comes in, gets a solid hit on Morathi. No, actually, most of it misses and hits a few of those Wild Riders, which is unfortunate, but hey, you can't hit them all. The Arrows of Kurnos, sometimes, depending on like slope and different things, it can occasionally miss, but the Waywatchers are still here, and the Wild Riders and Eternal Guard actually get a really nice charge. Wild Riders in particular with their high charge bonus, and that, yeah, the high weapon damage. They can do a lot of damage to Marathi. So things are not looking too bad. Balance of power is relatively even. In this way, Waystalker can now come in and fight some of the Hellebronai in melee with their fancy pink dresses. Nice decapitation there with the dual hand weapons. You would think he'd have anti-infantry, actually, considering that he has dual hand weapons, but sadly he does not. Not the most weapon damage in the world either, but okay. I mean, again, he'll just continuously kind of chip models away from these units on the side, and the fact that he's so cheap definitely benefits as well. Yeah, in general, I'm a fan of cheap heroes. Cheap single entities in general, excuse me, are generally very good because you can get good value from them without having to micro them too much usually. I mean, you can, and certainly in other games in this series that Hadris had here, as he's pulling ahead now considerably on the balance of power, there were a number of plays he had with the Waystalkers, taking out, you know, artillery pieces and so on, so I definitely encourage you to watch the stream if you have time, and go through and check out those battles where he was playing Wood Elves. Definitely made great use of these Waystalkers here. And there. And yeah, only one shot left. Let's see where he goes. Looks like he's going to shoot at... Hellebronite actually hits a tree, unfortunately, but Marathi got finished off at some point by those Wild Riders and everything, and the Waystalker, using up his ammo, still has a lot of HP, and there's really nothing left that can kill him, interestingly enough. It's just a bunch of, like, tattered spears and stuff. This very brave bolt thrower crew is going to come forward and actually rout a handful of the Wood Elf units. But we'll put it in fast forward as the engagement presses on. Waystalker, again, I don't know exactly how many splash attacks he has, and it's not like his melee damage in general is anything to write home about, but that extra little bit of heroic presence is enough often in these types of situations to swing things in your favor. And I've mentioned this a few times recently and just throughout the course of my channel, heroes tend to count for a lot on the balance of power, heroes and lords. Even this Waystalker, excuse me, out of ammo, it will count for a lot on the balance of power and be able to maintain a pretty good grip on the control of everything, so very important to have that into the late game here, and a great game by both of these players. It was super, super close, very fun game, and great job by Kilorinu against a very strong player. Hadris was on an absolute tear there, and this was one of the closer games that he had within that run. So yeah, Waywatchers definitely making their presence felt, getting some very key damage in, but 68 kills for the Waystalker at the end of the day, not bad at all. And again, that maintaining leadership and courage, all the things that the hero brings to the table. It's great. It's not a world beater by any means, but can be very, very useful. I didn't end up using it directly. I mean, I guess I didn't quite catch. Maybe one of the artillery pieces got blown up. But yeah, fun stuff. Wild Riders did a great job. Durthu took a lot of damage, kind of had to tank it out a little bit there, but Kilorinu's build overall is pretty solid. I think the Harpies maybe YOLO'd a little bit too early. It's hard to say, but yeah, very, very close. Maybe some Dark Rider play as well could have potentially changed that. You'll have to see my live commentary for more. But anyway, let's go ahead and talk a little bit more about Waystalkers. And it's an interesting comparison. There's not really a lot of great direct comparisons for the Waystalker as sort of a cheap ranged hero. For the Lizardmen, the Skink Chief is even cheaper and comes with sort of less abilities, but also, I mean, 82 ammunition, only 100 range means he's kind of a little bit of a different role. He's more of a close range attacker rather than like a demi-artillery piece, but the Elf, definitely more expensive, but just better stats all around. A little bit slower, interestingly, but not that much slower. And the Skink does have a lot more ammunition. Obviously, the Waystalker, interestingly enough, says it does less DPS, but each shot does a lot more, right? So, I'd be curious to kind of do the math and see which one has more damage potential. Skink Chief, just because of his high ammo count, might technically have a higher damage potential, but the magic versus poison, I don't know, it's kind of hard to say. Skink Chief's probably Maybe a little bit more cost-effective objectively, but again, a little bit of a different role given that Lizardmen kind of have their own artillery pieces, and you've got the Cold-Blooded as well that you kind of use to support different ways, whereas this guy has stock, Snipe, and Vanguard, so you can set him up Vanguard situation to get a nice ambush. You also have this plus 10% base missile damage. Not super impactful for something like Way Watchers, but it does increase slightly the damage of Arrows of Kurnos for something like a breath attack. So it can be worth taking, especially if you have like 2 Way Watchers, or sorry, Waystalkers, to take out enemy artillery pieces. Like, it's quite common to see these days in certain matchups, and it's something that I've been using a little bit, is an Ancient Treeman as your kind of caster lord, and then you take 2 Waystalkers to take out enemy artillery. And in that case, I'd bring Arrows of Kurnos on both of them, and bring this Eye of Kurnos only on one of them, and then keep them together so they both get the benefit from it. These other ones, Warrior Bane, I mean, 8% base weapon damage isn't really a lot. It's not super impactful, so I tend to just leave that off to make them as cheap as possible. But they are a nice kind of anti-artillery option, and give you some extra flexibility and leadership support in that way. In terms of other units that are comparable, I mean, there's really just not that many ranged foot heroes, foot-only heroes, right? K-Knight Assassin, again, kind of similar to the Skink Chief, even lower range, but different missile damage profile, poison. He has also a little bit more of a melee offensive focus with 70 melee attack and some different debuffs. Whereas only 55 attack on the Waystalker, actually a little bit better melee defense, so maybe there is some comparison to be made there. Curious, I think, yeah, the K-Knight Assassin is 100 points more expensive baseline, and that kind of makes sense given the poison and everything else. As powerful as poison missiles are right now, I don't think that, I mean, it'd be kind of fun for the Waystalkers to get it, but that might be a little bit OP as well. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Would it be really wrong to give Waystalkers like the Hagbane tip, for example? Because Wood Elves have poison missiles. It's not like they don't have that. So, I don't know. But anyway, back to comparisons. I mean, maybe there's a little bit of comparison, but again, a little bit of a different role in that the Waystalker is more of a pure ranged hero. The K-Knight Assassin is a little bit of a hybrid. And there's really not a lot else. I mean, you've got like the only forward range support hero like the Gunnery Wight and the Dwarven Engineer, but those, again, different role for different things. And so there's really not a great direct comparison. That being said, Waystalkers, for the Wood Elves, you know, just in the faction as they are a very useful tool, and definitely something you should consider having in your army. At least 1, maybe 2. Depending on your build. So hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you do like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification. Every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again. We'll see you next time.